It's a misconception that there are only 5 types of art, because there's actually another kind. Sonic fanfiction. Oh, and I guess comic books too. And what gives you the authority to tell us the history of comics? I watched an Imaginary Axis video once, so shut up. Comic books have existed for a very long time, since they are literally just words on top of images. They were first invented by the Stone Age artist Kamiko Buko when he realized that you could add symbols to paintings on walls. This resulted in an upsurge of Stone Age parents telling their children that reading those pesky wall paintings would rot their brains. The most prominent of these was Carinus. In ancient societies like Egypt, Rome, and Greece, they began to make more comics, mostly to tell religious and mythical stories. Even in ancient times, humans were too lazy to read. Later on, the Romans made Trajan's Column, a building with comics written on the walls. These were very important and expensive. They were particularly enjoyed by the Roman co-emperor known as Pupienus. Honestly, kids these days think they can just read comic books in their houses off pages. When I was your age, I had to walk all the way from England to Italy to read comics that were made out of stone instead of fancy paper. Honestly, kids these days. Moving on to the Middle Ages, comic books were having a midlife crisis, caused by realizing that they were not as successful as their peers, music and regular books. So they began making them in silk and called them tapestry to sound more sophisticated, much like how North Korea calls itself the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. These were mostly medieval tales about dragons and knights, but would sometimes depict knights fighting slugs. Unfortunately, these never got second issues, as the people who made fun of knights oftentimes ended up mysteriously dead. The Old English peasants had some that they used to complain about all the normies that were flooding into England. The invention of the printing press was very important, since now you could copy words much more easily. Unfortunately, you couldn't do this with drawings. That is a power reserved for people on the internet. During this period, the speech bubble was invented. This allowed the reader to know who was speaking, unlike before where they just put the text on the image. So comics used to be all in third person, I guess? During this time, since people got bored of drawing Jesus or something, they also started making comics about other things, like politics. By the way, did you know that it is scientifically proven that no one has ever laughed at a political comic? In the 19th century, comics started being put on magazines. Finally, a use for those things. In this period, the first weekly recurring comic was made. It was about a guy that hung out in dark alleys to avoid paying bills. A tale as old as money. Since they were now on newspapers, people actually bought the newspapers, since now there were things worth keeping updated on in them. In 1938, one of the most important comic book characters of all time was released. One that would inspire millions and change the course of comics. I'm of course talking about Bolivar, the member of the Duck family in the Donald Duck universe. There was also this lesser-known publication. It was about this guy in a blue costume with super strength that could fly, and his only weakness was a radioactive green rock. How realistic. But it didn't do very well and didn't have much of an impact. By the way, I bet you didn't know that there was a Mickey Mouse expanded universe. The entertainment industry will decide your fate. I am the entertainment industry! Ha-ha! Not yet. It's treason then! Ha-ha! During the 50s and 60s, superhero comics began to rise in popularity. But alas, the descendants of Carinus began calling them demonic. So, just like in the Middle Ages, they had to rebrand themselves to graphic novels. Personally, I would have preferred picture books. People also began to collect them because nothing screams high quality quite like cheaply printed cartoons. The superhero comics would become so convoluted that no one understood them, so they all had to reboot. If only we could do that for the whole world. With the invention of the internet, webcomics became a thing. Since now literally anyone could publish whatever they wanted to, this meant that 90% of them are garbage. However, not to worry, for the true intellectuals of the internet, use them to spark rational debate by portraying people who disagree with them as evil losers. It's good that webcomics became popular, because at the current rate, Disney will eventually just buy the entertainment industry. He has control of Marvel and Star Wars. He's too dangerous to be left alive. No, I need him. Yeah, no! Ah!